Welcome back to this channel. I am Medium Kim. Thank you for being here today. We are talking, I have one incredible hospice story to share, another story about a shared death awareness, and then we would like to talk about when can we talk to our departed loved ones after they've passed. There's a lot of different opinions about that, and I have my own opinion and experience around that. So thank you for joining. Should you like this video, please like and subscribe, share. I would love that. Also today, let you know I did have a interview podcast with Alison Dubois, the medium who scribbles. You might know her, and that will air on Tuesday. I will put a link whenever I get that link. And then also tomorrow, color class starts for the month. We have 4 classes coming up. And starting tomorrow, we delayed it a week because I had COVID, and I'm better now, mostly better. I still have a little cough. I've had all 3 varieties now. This one was the worst one for me, despite being vaccinated. And but I'm okay. So thank you for your prayers and well wishes around that. I really appreciate it. So let's start with our the one story that I think is pretty incredible. I even have a hard time believing it, but it's about the power of the mind and the will of the human experience, the human soul, the soul that we are. So I had a lady in Portland, Oregon a few years ago who she had at one point, she lived in her house for like 40 years. At one point, she had the most beautiful view, the river, little mountains, enjoyed this. Her whole back part of the house was all windows, big picture windows, and she enjoyed her view very much. But about 2 years before she passed, they built a condo in her view. So she could no longer have the beautiful view of the river and the mountains. And whenever I would visit, every single time, she'd say, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to burn that building down. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to burn that down. And she was very angry about that building in her view now. Well, guess what? At her last breath, now within minutes, 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, that building caught on fire and burned mostly all down. And before the fire department could rescue it, it was ruined. So how that works, I don't know. It's beyond my comprehension. But apparently, when somebody has that strong of a will, things can happen that we don't understand. And I think that when you get out of your body, you can do things that we don't do. Just like, how do people change the lights and turn on the music and turn on the water faucets? How do they do that? Beyond my understanding. How do they get dressed? How do they smoke cigarettes, drink beer, whatever it is? It's pretty amazing. So anyway, I'm just sharing that story with you because it is pretty incredible. The second story I want to share is about near-death awareness. And the reason I want to share this is for those of you who are going through hospice experience with a loved one, I encourage you to be open to the idea that you also can share in that near-death awareness. And near-death awareness means as somebody is coming closer to death, they become aware of the spirit world. It's common knowledge, I think probably for most of you guys, that we see and hear, know the angels are departed loved ones. You call their names out, you reach around to give them a hug. It's pretty common, but this is for the one who's dying. But I want to suggest and encourage those who are near the person to be open to sharing the experience of that awareness. So for me, what happened to me that showed me that it's possible is, well, one, of course, I mean, as a medium, I can see that, but now, but not at first. But what happened to me that was really like clinched it for me was when I attended the death of a priest. When I arrived, he had passed about 30 minutes prior. His niece and nephew-in-law were there. I talked to them first and got a little bit of a back history. When I got close to the man who had passed, and as I'm walking into his space within 2 to 3 feet, I felt like it's almost like connecting, blending with an oracle card, or blending, with something. I was blended with his energy. And I saw, all of a sudden, I saw flowers all around him. This was it was a bit objective and a bit subjective. In other words, in my mind and also outside of my mind, about 2 to 3 feet, beautiful, beautiful pink roses all around, head to toe, surrounding him. And I said to the family, I said, I wonder if he's surrounded by flowers. And the nephew said, I smell flowers. I'm smelling flowers. Now, so that was confirmation. So, it's wonderful to get a validation. And that to me was enough validation. He could smell it. I could see it. Okay. So we know he was surrounded by flowers. As I stepped in, I could see it. Now, I also heard organ music. I saw a big organ. I saw the pipes and everything. And I was hearing the music, and it sounded loud. It sounded beautiful. And I said to the family, I said, I bet there's music playing for him. I feel like it might be organ music. I just said organ music. And the niece said his favorite music was the organ. And so again, confirmation. So his desire and wish, what he desired when he crossed over, and what they're bringing him, because they know he liked they're bringing him the treasures of his life. They're showing him that there's still organ music on the other side. So confirmation again. Then on the top of his head, I saw vines, green vines, with, instead of leaf, priest, I'd see a small priest coming out of the vines on his head. And it appeared to me, and my feeling around it was, he was back enfolded by the priesthood. In other words, and all these ancestors, or all these priests who have gone before him, are here waiting to welcome him, are welcoming them in their arms in the new world. And so it was beautiful to see that. And so the way I told the family this, I said, I imagine that he's being welcomed by the church. Now, the niece said, and then she told me stories of how loved he was, how respected by the church members, by the other priests. He was very well loved. So again, this is such a confirmation. Plus, he had the best smile I've ever seen on anybody in my over 20 years experience as a hospice nurse. I think I've worked in hospice now, well, since 1997, whatever that makes it. But the best smile I've ever seen. So he must have been in the flowers. He must have been with music and in love with all the members of his church before him. So confirmation. I want to encourage you guys who are experiencing hospice now, or maybe in the future, to allow yourself the ability and the confidence as you draw near to somebody in the silence and in the presence. Allow yourself to transform over to the other side just a bit, to get a glimpse. And it may be a feeling And that's all. You know, when you walk into a room that is with a hospice patient, you know, you can feel, you get the tinglies. When you walk in, it's like, whoa, the angels are here. There's no denying it. Even people who don't believe in angels know there's something different in the room when they walk in those rooms. So just know that you are in sacred hands. Everything is sacred, and treat it as such, and treat it with a willingness to accept the power that you have to be at one with a person who's dying and to cross over just for a glimpse of the other side. So I hope that helps you. Now, when do we actually get to talk to the other side? How long does it take for somebody to transition? Is it a month, 6 months, 3 months? Is it linear? I'm based on my experience. That's all I can say. I hear some people say, some very good mediums, wonderful mediums, like Linda G even says, you can't talk to them right away. You give them time to transition. And that is probably true for a lot of people. They need time to transition. But in my experience, as a hospice nurse, when I am with people who have already been preparing for transition because they're in hospice, they have had a slower death. It's not a suicide, it's not accident, it's not murder. Those may have a little more time to transition. But for people who know they're dying and they're preparing, they've already said their goodbyes, they usually start their life review before their last breath. You hear it all the time. Oh, I'm back in 5. They're talking about what they were doing when they were 5 years old, or the dogs they had, or the school teacher, or whatever. So they are already doing the review. So by the time they actually make their final breath, they're like eager. They're eager to be known. And I have seen that so many times. One example is I arrived at a ladies' home. They were the 2 women who were married. And the first one, they had only been married a week, by the way. Not that that matters. I'm just letting you know the backstory a bit. But they kind of got married because of legal reasons, because the one who was dying needed somebody to take care of her estate and all that. Anyway, but it was still very devastating for the one being left behind. And as she was gone, but her spirit, I saw her body was still there. I arrived. I had called the funeral home, waiting for the funeral home to come. The spirit, though, was behind her loved one, talking to me, all these signals and telling me in excitement, like, let her know I'm fine, let her know I'm here, I'm good. It was really very clear. And this was minutes after she passed. So I'm not sure that there is a rule. Some people are easier to communicate with, no matter what, anyway. And I believe that when people are in transition, that they're more likely to come through quicker like that. Now, I have also seen, I can't even, how many times, the departed person behind somebody and their loved one. This is a few days even after they're gone, but they're like, hey, I'm here, I'm still with her. I'm still with her. I see that around the nurses. I see that around the med aides at a facility. And in the facility, med aide will even say that person died. And then right away, I felt that person right behind me tapping on my shoulders. It's pretty common. I had a lady when I was going to the Unity Church, and she was very interested in my children because she didn't have children. And, she was just interested. And so after she died, a few days after, we were sitting at the table, my family and I saw her come through the window and to take a look around, and then she left. Now, and you hear these people coming to say goodbye as they're leaving. So that is pretty not one. Another time I was doing a condolence visit, which is very rare nowadays, but back in the day, we did that. And I was in the condolence visit, and they opened the door, and I could see the spirit of the man who passed. This was from days before. He's sitting in his old chair. So what is that about? And he's kind of like waving to me. So they are trying to communicate. They want us to know they're okay. So I love that. I also know I had a boyfriend, wonderful, wonderful. His name was Marty. And when his mom passed, now I was already doing mediumship at the time, and he said, "Can you tune into her?" And she was a person who was very concerned about her. She wanted to look nice. Her appearance was important to her. And so I tuned into her, and right away she showed me, and so it's a mediumship thing. It's not psychic, because psychic means you're tuning into the energy of somebody who's alive or passed. Doesn't necessarily mean you're having a conversation. That's psychic. Mediumship, you're seeing them, they're talking to you, they're telling you things. But anyway, what she showed me was she had the mirror and she said, "I'm beautiful again." And she had this like, "Oh my gosh, I'm beautiful again." Now, I'm not saying it was a long conversation, but the deal is that she showed me she was alive and vibrant, beautiful. She'd made it, and it was right away after she passed. So now I think people who, I'm not positive, but I think as a general rule, people who have suicide, accident, murder have a little harder time with the transition. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's right. So sometimes they don't even know they've passed, right? So then I think it would be more of a time for them to settle in and whatever it is. Maybe they need to go to the hospital on the other side, or the healing room, or get counseling, or something like that. Okay. So it's not, to me, it's not black and white. And also the people who are on the other side communicating with us have talents or not talents. Some of them are better communicators than others. Some of them are very quiet and meek. Maybe they come in with an apology. It's harder to hear those people. But other people who are very vibrant and expressive, easier to hear, right? So again, we are all different. Each medium is different. Each person who's passed is different. And I personally don't think it's black and white. Like, I just think it's not linear and it's not black and white. We do tend to, as humans, would love to have, oh, well, 6 months we can talk to them, or 2 months, or whatever it is. But I don't think it works like that personally. I think you could even wait 20 years and still not. But most of the time, at least you can tune in psychically. The difference between psychic and mediumship, psychic, you can pick up their energy. That doesn't mean you're having conversations. All right. And psychic is when you're dealing with somebody who's alive too. Okay. You can also do that with somebody who's passed. But when you start blending stronger with a person who's departed and they're having a conversation, showing you things, you ask a question in your mind, you're asking questions a little bit, and then you're getting a response. You're doing mediumship then. All right. So thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, share. If you like this video, remember color class. It's not the last day to sign up, because you can sign up for 2 or 4 classes. This will be a small class. I'll put the link below. And we will start with as beginner minds here in this month. And we will be working with tuning into colors around people, working with drawing colors, working with doing intuitive readings using color. So it's a wonderful way, fun, creative way. And I hope you join us, and also tune in Tuesday to Alison Dubois on her podcast. And let's see here. We're finishing up with Rocks and Feathers. It's been wonderful. We have one more week. Actually, if anybody wants to do the last week of Rocks and Feathers, you can do just the last 2 classes. We're doing the upper world and the lower world. I'm going to put that link too, just in case anybody's interested on that. And that's a Wednesday and Saturday this week coming up. The upper world, we're working with the angels, and the lower world, we're working with going in the earth and maybe working with animals and things like that. So, and it's been pretty wonderful class too. So it's not too late to sign up for the last 2 classes for that. and look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Many blessings. Bye-bye.